comes to transitioning from the thermostat, I want to go back a couple of different steps on that. What are you bringing with you out in the field before you ever get to the home? What do you have in your vehicles with you as tools to be able to help share information with homeowners when it might come to things like indoor air quality?
Yeah, air literature.
All right, so you've got the literature, what we call the Total Home Solutions literature. All right, so you have that. Do you have the consumer handbooks? This is more like the laminated guide or booklet that you can use.
We have the bifold.
Okay, yeah, that's the Total Home Solution. So both of them are actually very similar to each other. The bifold is more so, it's a leave behind piece. If a homeowner goes, you know, can I get a little extra information on that? I'd like to just kind of read through it or share something with my spouse after you leave. Here you go. Yeah, that's kind of what that piece is designed for. It's meant to be a little bit of a leave behind. The consumer's handbook is a little bit more of a presentation guide. If you were to actually get to the point where it's what I call getting a seat at the table. If the homeowner actually says, well, let's talk about that, or you find yourself getting more into an in-depth conversation, that's a seat at the table. And that's where you could use something like this. So it's a great tool to have with you. This is a laminated booklet that folds out. And I know it's not going to be easy to see, but you've got the pie chart, which you should be familiar with at this point. You've got pictures of clean versus dirty equipment. So you can talk about systems that are brand new versus systems that have not been maintained or systems that are a little bit abused and what that means. And then as you continue to flip through it, it gives you a chance to present packages to the homeowner. So you've got an IAQ 4000, which should sound pretty familiar. And then as you flip through it even more, you've got a 3000, a 2000, and a 1000. So you have all your different IAQ packages in there. That's a great tool to carry with you as well. And because it's just very graphic, and people are, most people are going to pick up more from graphics than images than they are from anything else today. As humans, we're all just very visual people. So that's very helpful to have. Do you carry full-size air cleaning panels, or at least the demo panel with you on your trucks?
No.
No? I think that's a beautiful thing to do if you can carry it with you. Because at the end of the day, most of us as consumers, and I know especially myself, and so I don't think I'm totally different than a lot of other consumers out there. If you were to come into my house and present something to me that I didn't even know I had a problem on, you know, that's one of the things we'll talk about today is most homeowners don't even know they have the issue in some cases. So we're going to present a problem to a homeowner. We're going to talk to them about what that problem is, what it means to them, what it means to their home. Then we're going to present a solution to the homeowner, which means we're going to ask for money, right? If we're presenting a solution. And we're going to do all of that. And a homeowner, they didn't know they had the problem. They've never heard of the air cleaner. They've never seen it. They've never had their hands on it. How many people are going to want to spend their money on something like that? Right? Do you think it might make a psychological difference if you went out to your truck, if you were to hand the homeowner a basic cardboard frame 1-inch pleated filter? They're pretty light, they're pretty flimsy, aren't they? So if you handed that to a homeowner in one hand and you had a full-size air cleaner, not the cute little demos, but a full-size 16 by 25 air cleaner, and you went to hand that to a homeowner in their other hand, it's going to feel substantial. There's a weight difference. They can actually kind of pick it up and go like this to it. Can you twist these or flex these or bend these? They're pretty beefy construction, aren't they? They're kind of heavy. It also gives the chance for the homeowner to play with the clips, open it up, check the media out in there. It makes a lot of sense at the right time. Yeah, it's not going to be 95 and humid and their system's not working. And I'm going to say, hey, let me show you my cool air cleaner before I diagnose your system. That's not the right time or place. But at the right time and place, having something like this to put in the hands of the homeowner makes a tremendous amount of sense if you could do that. It's a great tool to have with you on your vehicle. So that's something that you can use. And then I'm sure, has Michelle shown you these yet, or Kyle?
I'm trying to see what.
These are the video books.
A video book?
A video book. And I love these. We've had these for probably 6 months now, maybe a little bit longer than that. But the video book, there is a time and a place on every single call where you can introduce this to the homeowner and hand it to the homeowner. And this is going to go through a lot of the information that we go through during training, but you don't have to memorize every single word. Let the video go through it. It's fairly short. There's 4 videos inside. But what you could do, just to, again, to kind of introduce it on, say, a service call. If you went out there and somebody's system was down, you can say, you know, it's going to take me a few minutes as I get started here to do the diagnostic on your heating and cooling system to find out why it's not working for you. But while I'm doing that, we have a lot of homeowners today that are interested in how they can better protect the airspace inside their home. And there's a number of benefits to that. So while I'm doing the diagnostic on your system, would you mind taking a quick look through this? And now you hand them the video book. This is not a hard introduction. So now you hand them the video book, you open it up, and guess what's inside of it right here again? Something we always see. You've got the pie chart. You've also got some images of dirty and clean equipment over here. So you can introduce the video book to the homeowner, and then you have 4 tabs. Just press play.
Pictures continually purifying the air we breathe. Thunderstorms, wind, light, purify.
Yeah, we actually have those videos like on our website. At one time, we were gonna load them on your iPads. Beth had created those. I don't know if you still have those loaded. But at the same time, this would be so much better than handing it on your iPad. They can look at it while you're not doing, standing right there over them.
Yeah, you know, there's a couple of different lines of thought. Some people like to have the videos on their iPads. It's always good. You can always download them on there. But isn't your iPad a bit of a diagnostic tool? Aren't you taking down bits of information as you're working on the system? So if you don't have your iPad with you, it makes it difficult to do that. So I'm a big fan of having the video book, handing that to the homeowner. And it's essentially, it's a tablet that's inside. It's got a little charging port on the bottom of it. And I've had this one for months and I've never charged it. Now, I'm sure if I played all the videos for, I think it's 8 or 10 minutes long. If I played it all the time, I would need to charge it, but you can charge it in your vans while you're going from job to job if you need to. So I think that's a fantastic tool. Again, you can do it on a service call, a maintenance. There's no time that you can't bring that up and use that to share information with homeowners. So I think that's a tremendous tool. And then the other one is it's just simply, it's your tool. It's the iPad itself, right? So what do I mean by that as a tool? From a company standpoint, is everybody familiar with how to find the products on there? If you're actually presenting a product to a homeowner, do you have, on your iPads, as technicians, do you use the iPad to share information with homeowners, to show them pictures, warranty information? Do you have information like that on the products in your iPads? I don't know if you use like Service Titan or what type of program you use, but do you have that information in there? Is it easy to find? If somebody uses, say, an ultraviolet system or sells an air cleaner off their truck, is it easy to pull that part off of the truck so that it gets replenished? Is there a process that you guys have in place, and is everybody comfortable and familiar with that process?
That's a good question. We're all carrying at least an RM2. We kind of not using the 1, 2, 3, 4. We'd rather just go straight to the RM2. And then in our we are using Service Titan. We are separating out like the filter as a task and the RM2 as a task. And instead of selling as a package, you can sell them individually, just because sometimes you can't get that filter in particular homes. But I thought everybody was doing an RM2, and if they sell it, yes, it will get replenished.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody's comfortable, because I've gone into locations that I've worked with for years, and then suddenly as I'm riding along with guys in the field, I find that they're not comfortable with how to look the products up, how to pull the parts from their inventory, things like that. There's kind of a discomfort level there. And then what I find is that with that discomfort level there, let's just not talk about it.
Oh,
not
well, I
bringing it up.
think that's not happening here. I mean, you should find it. I think we can find it in our iPads to sell it. The seller's something different, but we've gone over that.
No, I don't have any issues.
Actually,
Okay.
it's a ticket. But
Okay,
that's a good
perfect.
question.
Well, and that's why I like to bring it up. Is sometimes, it could be a piece here, it could be a piece there why we might not be comfortable talking about something or offering something, right? So, we just want to go through all of that. The more comfortable everybody is with all the different processes and all of that, it makes it an easier it makes it an easier thing to do out in the field. So I think having the tools is the very first step, making sure that you have those things with you. I've gone on way too many ride-alongs and said, hey, let's go grab a piece of literature. Well, what's that? I don't have it. It's, show me where to find it in your iPad. Oh, I'm not sure where it's at. These are just all things I pick up along the way. So, that's why I bring those up before we ever even get to the thermostat, before we ever even get to the home. It's important. You can't go out and do a diagnostic on a system unless you have the right tools. Very difficult to talk about indoor air quality and share the proper information if you don't have the right tools with you. So I think that's step number one.
John, you kind of made me think of something because we said that the service type does update sometimes and it kind of messes with you, but we put that down under, we can do required repairs and recommended repairs. And I think under recommended repairs, there's templates with all the IAQ already built in it. Are y'all familiar with that? Have you seen that when you pull up your iPad? I know you use it.
I've seen it get built, but I don't
It's
know
all
if
in there.
it's
So we'll review that because I made it easy where it's already there and then they can, all the products are there and then they can just subtract them out. So they don't have to create an estimate every time.
Right. But yeah, if it's in there as a recommended repair, that's something that somebody can follow up with a phone call after you guys are there. Hey, I noticed the technicians have this as a recommended repair. Or when the outbound caller is making a call to set up the next maintenance on there 6 months from now, hey, I noticed that the technician recommended this the last time they were there. Do you have any questions on that before he comes out again after this call?
Okay.
So those are great, information is power, right? And we can have things, we can have the program set up right, but it's garbage in, garbage out. If we're not filling it out or if we're not doing it right, it doesn't become a useful tool. So if it's in there, which it sounds like it is, I would absolutely make sure we're using that. So that's all great stuff. That kind of just gets you started. That means you have what you need before you go out to the home or when you're in the home there. But let's start at the thermostat. As far as that conversation, you guys know where to park. You know how to knock on the door, start the conversation. And I have to imagine on most of your calls, you're probably beginning with something along the lines of, can you show me your thermostat? Is that one of the first steps that you take once you're in the home, is going to the thermostat?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I do like to point out certain words at different times, and maybe you've heard us say things like this before, but if you just say, in my experience, from what I've seen in the past, is if I say, where's the thermostat? A lot of people do this. They point, right? If you say, can you take me to your thermostat? What will they do? They'll bring you to it. So you're going to the thermostat no matter what. But the difference from where is to can you take me is a totally different thing. Can you show me your thermostat? Can you take me to your thermostat? Now, when you're going to the thermostat, is there anything that you're doing along the way? Talking to them. Okay. So you're kind of building rapport along the way. Now, sometimes you might only be going 3 feet. Sometimes you might be walking down to a hallway or something. So, we don't have a lot of time in there, but are there things that you're paying attention to? Are there things that you could see along the way that may be a telltale sign that there could be a problem in the home? You ever notice ceiling fans where you might have the big dirt donut on the ceiling from the ceiling fan going around up there? Could be a dust issue. Ever see any dirty registers along the way? It gives you a chance if a homeowner is walking you to the thermostat, you can kind of just do a quick glance around. I mean, and we're not talking about casing the home, but just taking a quick glance around and kind of paying attention to your surroundings. And if you see the dirty registers, things like that, that's something that you can take note of, right? That there may be possibly an issue at that point. While you're at the thermostat, what are some of the things that if you have a homeowner that's with you, and of course that's the top thing that we can do is have a homeowner with us because we're kind of setting the stage on the call. What are some of the things that are there things that you share? Do you have a process? Are there questions that you ask? Keep in mind, everybody does this a little bit differently. What are some of the things you do at the thermostat?
Is this where you normally keep it?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Is this the temperature you normally keep it at?
Okay.
How do you
What?
normally speak of?
How do you like your thermostat? Is it easy to use?
That's a great one right there. You get homeowners that go, I hate this thing. It's like, they don't know how to use it. They're not comfortable with it. How many programmable thermostats do you see where people don't have them programmed? They're just using them as kind of an on-off versus, really programming it. It means they're probably not comfortable. They don't know how to program.
They don't like the program.
Everybody's just like their own house.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that we can learn. We can learn someone's comfort level. Can you go ahead and kick the thermostat up or turn it off? Or, if you see somebody who goes to the thermostat and they're just completely confused when they get to it, that's probably a homeowner who's not comfortable with it. So, and they might not be using it to the best of its ability as the brain of the system. So, there's a lot that you can learn while you're there. But, you can ask these questions. You can ask a question along the lines of, before I get started today on your system, do you have any indoor air quality equipment that I need to be aware of? What's that? Or a homeowner might say, well, yeah, I've got something in there. I'm not sure what it is. There's lots of great questions that are out there that you can kind of start to get a feel of what's going on in the home. So ask about things like that. Of course, comfort level, some of the other things that you guys are used to asking while you're there. But that's a time to have that conversation with the homeowner and just kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. It's also an opportunity to explain to the homeowner while you're there. Now, I know some homeowners you've gone out and you've seen them half a dozen times. So you've got a pretty, good relationship or some familiarity with that homeowner. But maybe you have some other homeowners that this is the first or the second visit. Sometimes I've even noticed with homeowners that we have seen before, I know that, keep in mind, I had my own team of guys. I used to work for a company called Service Experts for a while. So I was a general manager for a couple of locations. And when I would go out and do ride-alongs with my own guys, occasionally I would ask a homeowner, why do you have a maintenance plan with us? Kind of an unusual question to ask, but you know how most of them responded? The guy told me I needed it. Is that a really good reason to have a maintenance plan?
I would hope they know the details.
Well, I mean, if the response is, well, the guy told me I needed it, the last guy who was out here, there's probably not a lot of value that's been added for the maintenance plan. And those are pretty important, aren't they? Maintenance plans? Kind of the lifeblood of a lot of our businesses. So I would say that any time we have an opportunity to build value on the maintenance plan, we want to do that. Well, as a homeowner who has a maintenance plan with us, what are some of the benefits that you guys offer? What are some of the things that you do with your maintenance plans?
You guys, I'm gonna stop right here because I love that. And one reason is they forget from year to year what all their benefits are. And when we go to renew, it's like, oh, I didn't really get much out of that last year. Y'all just showed up twice. But they forgot about the after hours, or they forgot about the $100 because they got the old system. We give $100 every year towards a new system. I love that question. I love that question. And just because I already have one doesn't mean you don't need to talk about it. Did you take advantage of our after hours or, whatever? I think that's great. I love that.
It's all of them. I mean, those are fantastic benefits. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, just as a reminder, since I'm out here on your maintenance today, remember if there's any, repair cost, you're going to get X amount of percentage off. Remember every year that you have a maintenance plan with us, that builds $100 credit towards a new system. So you go over 2, 3, 4 of things. I mean, that's pretty exciting stuff to be able to share with a homeowner, and you get to deliver the good news. I mean, you're sharing all the good stuff with them at that point. So, remember, as one of our club, memberships, these are the advantages that you get with that. And then as part of that on your maintenance while I'm here today, what are some of the things you do while you're out there? Are you going to check for proper refrigerant levels, electrical readings, change the filter? I mean, you guys tell me what you do. There's probably, you probably got 20, 30 things you do or more while you're out there. Just list a couple of those for the homeowner. And again, I think that builds an awful lot of value. While I'm here today, on top of all the other benefits you get as a club member, as part of your actual maintenance, I'm going to be doing A, B, C, and D. You're just kind of laying it out there for the homeowner that just continues to build value of why why you're out there. And then you can always follow that up. And I'm sure that everybody's heard that there's a thermostat statement or question that you can use at this point with the homeowner. Once you do that, once you build value on that, while I'm out here today, some other things I'm going to be doing is looking for things that might cause you to overpay the utility company, things that might cause your system to fail prematurely, or things that might be a health concern for you or your family. If I find anything like that while I'm out here, and there's different ways you can finish this, you can say, would you like me to share that with you? Or I'll go ahead and share those things with you. There's different ways that you can finish the statement, but you're just trying to get the homeowner's permission in a sense. While I'm out here today, I'm going to be looking for these things that might cause you to overpay the utility company, shorten the life for your system, or be a health concern for you or your family. If I find any of those things, would you want me to share it with you? You have to put it in your own words. Mine's going to sound somewhat scripted. You have to make it comfortable. You use totally different words than what I use. But could you put that in something that's comfortable for you that would get the same point across to the homeowner?
Definitely.
Yeah. I can promise you this. This is not a guess. This is not like, geez, I really hope this works. If you use a thermostat statement along those lines, I promise you, you will have more success in everything that you present to the homeowner when it comes to some of the different options or some of the challenges that you find out there. Because now what you've done is you've gotten permission from the homeowner that if you do see something, and I like the word discover better than find, because find almost implies you're looking for it a little bit. But discover is kind of like, oops, I opened up your system and this is what was in there. Sometimes little words can make a difference like that. But if you do discover something in the system, then you now have, if the homeowner went, well, yeah, sure. You do now have permission to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, can I have 30 seconds of your time? There's something I discovered when I had your system open. Once you've gone off to work on the system, do the diagnostic, do the maintenance, you can always come back at a later point, and now they've kind of given you permission to share some things with them. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? Is that something that everybody agrees you could do out in the field?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I would do that.
I think, John, they do. I mean, we've gone over a lot, and I just always want to make sure that I let everybody know that I think they do a good job on how we're doing things now, but there's always room for improvement. And I feel comfortable that I'm not out there, but I feel comfortable that we're definitely always discussing what we discover. And I'm hoping that you guys are grabbing these little tidbits, and Joe is brand new and he's going out to do maintenance on them. So I really, really want a piece of paper in front of you to be writing these transition statements down, because they're going to come in and they're going to go out. But if you just take a few of these, and I'm probably going to sit down and write some more of those out for you and put one or two of them into practice. And I think the biggest thing, and Colton even admitted it a couple of weeks ago, is that first conversation, that transition to say, you gave me permission to come back and talk to you.
Right.
So, right. And I hope you guys are picking up on those little things. As much as you've got people that go out there and do this every day, and it might have been that one little thing that added to your presentation, and I'm hoping that's what you're getting out of this today. It's not a whole new process, but that one thing that might just help you have a better conversation.
And I think you're absolutely right, Kim. A lot of times it is just one little phrase, one little statement, one little thing can be the trigger that completely changes the conversation or how that goes with the homeowner. So, that's where, even our technical training that we do online, I have some folks that want to go through it twice a year because they always say, I always pick up something new. And by the way, I pick up things that are new from you guys in the field every day. That's why I still love to ride along when I get the chance. Now, COVID's obviously fixing, dampen that down a little bit, but I love when I get a chance to ride with folks because I see there are things that are being done every day where I go, I really like that. Or I like how that's said. I like how you explain that to a homeowner. I think there's a lot of great things in that. So yeah, it's just little tidbits along the way. So, kind of to follow up with that, where I would go from there after, the thermostat conversation, maybe the transition statement that you use, the next one would be where do you hide your filter at? Can you show me that? Now you're going to go over and take a look at the filter. Now, usually when you say, where do you hide your filter? People sometimes get a little giggle out of that. If you can inject a little humor in there. Why would somebody hide their filter?
That's filthy.
Filthy, right? Here's what we see a lot of times, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. We either see a filter that looks like an old bowed out banana because somebody hasn't changed it in a year's period of time and it was a couple of month filter or something. It's disgusting, it's dirty, it's nasty, or it's brand new. It got changed that morning. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're embarrassed.
I think it's,
Right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, they got
yeah, you guys see so many things out in the field. So, but where do you hide your filter at? Can you take me to your filter? Something along those lines. You want the homeowner to stay with you during that process because you want to pull their filter out in front of the homeowner. Because again, that conversation can go different ways. It can be a brand new filter and, oh, I'm really glad, compliment them. Oh, it looks like your filter is brand new. I'm glad you're changing these things out regularly. That is so important to your equipment. Or if it looks like an old bowed out banana, oh, wow, look at this thing. And make some jokes about it. I mean, you don't embarrass them, but, you can talk about their filter, say, oh, this thing looks like it's about to get pulled into your blower wheel. That would be trouble. We might want to change this out just a little bit more often. But, have the conversation. But what you're really doing is you're getting a chance to see what the homeowner is using. Now, you all tell me in your experience, the folks that are out in the field every day, if a homeowner is using a basic store-bought filter, it doesn't matter if it's a $2 throwaway fiberglass filter or if it's a $35 3M Filtrete, is there a pretty good chance that when you open their system up, if they're using that basic store-bought filter, you're going to find even a little bit of dirt and dust and debris on the coil, the blower wheel, just somewhere inside the equipment?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So now give me a percentage. If you went out to 10 homes today, and 10 of those homes, these were systems that were 2, 3, 4 years old, and they were using a basic store-bought filter. Give me a percentage where you might find even just a little bit of dirt and dust in there, just a little bit of something visual that you could see.
90%.
90%. Okay, so that's been my experience as well. And because of that, I'm comfortable asking this question. Oh, nice filter, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. We see a lot of these that are being used today. When I get done, would you mind if I showed you a little bit better filter than what you're currently using? Now, why would we maybe want to show them a better filter than what they're currently using? You just told me. Because 90% of the homes that you go into, you find dirt and debris in the system. That means those filters aren't working so hot, are they? Now, if a homeowner says, why would you... What's that?
Well, I like that. We actually had that discussion because, and I love Michelle, but we talked about her transition statements and that transition that you just said was kind of almost at the beginning. And I like Cecil's comment was, it sounds like I'm already trying to sell them something. And as we talked about that, I said, yeah, you don't even know, if you bring it up too early, you don't even know if they already have a good filtration system. So that fits a lot better, doesn't it? Because now you're standing at the filter, you'll know if you can make that statement or not.
Right. That's an ideal situation.
Right.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because we can even go back a step here. If we ask a homeowner a question, because keep in mind when we make some of these statements, homeowners might ask you things about them. You're going to have to be aware of that as part of your transitions. If you ask a homeowner, while I'm out here today, I'll also be looking for things that could cause you to overpay the utility company, be a health concern, cause your systems to fail prematurely. A homeowner might say, health concerns? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? You're going to have an answer for that. My answer to that, and I'm sure all of you can think of something, but my answer to that would be is that Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, according to the Centers for Disease Control, all of our homes, right? That's on the pie. Where does that pie chart come from? Centers for Disease Control. Those people have heard of them today, especially with COVID and all that. According to the Centers for Disease Control, they say that my house, your house, and every home that we go into has contaminants in there, what they call elements of contamination or phases of contamination. There are things that we all have in our homes, and some of these things can sometimes trigger health reactions with certain homeowners. A good example of that would be pollen during pollen season. There's a lot of homeowners who suffer from things like asthma and allergies. So if we find that some of this stuff is actually getting in your system, some of the dirt and the dust and the pollens and some of the things that we have in the airstream, that's a trigger for us to sometimes know that maybe if somebody has a health concern, things like asthma and allergies, they don't even know that they have that in there, but we like to point it out and show them if we find something like that. Right?
Totally understand.
You know, so now you're giving them an explanation on what could be a health issue. You know, so I mean, you know, where we happen to live here in Arkansas, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, you notice how sometimes it gets a little hot and humid over summer? Oh yeah, right. Everybody knows that. Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you're cooling the airflow in your home, we're actually dehumidifying that, which means we're drawing moisture out of the airstream. It's kind of like taking a cold can of soda and putting it on a countertop. What does a cold can of soda do when you put that on the countertop, when that cold can meets the warm air?
It sweats.
It sweats. Well, you're heating it, that's right. Your cooling system does the same thing. So now you're prone to getting some moisture in there. But your coil is just sitting in a dark environment. What are we prone to getting when you get a dark and a damp environment?
Mold and mildew.
All right, some kind of growth. I don't know what it is unless I test it. You know, but here's what I do know is that sometimes that stuff is not very good for you. And then for some homeowners, they're very sensitive to that. That can trigger asthmatic or allergic reactions. So if I open your system up, if I see that there's anything growing in there, I'll make you aware of it. All right. So you're not trying to scare them. You're just, you know, just be aware if you use some of these statements that might trigger a question from the homeowner. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by that? All right. So you have to have an answer for it. And it has to be something that you're prepared to answer. It has to be a comfortable, you know, kind of return volley, so to speak, back and forth. And then the filter is the same thing. If you pull their filter out and you were to now use a question along the lines of, you know, when I get done today, would you mind if I showed you a little bit better filter than what you're currently using? Oh, geez. What are you trying to sell me? You know, I mean, if that comes up, and it could, right? It's going to be along the lines of, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but this is what I do for a living. I go in roughly 4 houses a day, and I do it almost every day of the week. And one of the things that I notice is that when homeowners are using standard store-bought filters, much like what you have right here, according to from what we see, and according to groups like Energy Star. Anybody ever hear of Energy Star before?
Mm-hmm.
According to what I see every day in all the houses that I go in, and according to Energy Star, they say even the best store-bought filters don't do a very good job of maintaining our heating and cooling systems. And there's a chance that when I open your system up, there could be a buildup of dirt, dust, and debris in there. So imagine if you had the engine of your car running, would you flip the hood open and take a shovel full of dirt and just chuck it in there while your engine's running? Do you think that would be good for the components in your engine? Well, what do you think is happening to the components in your heating and cooling system if they start to get a bunch of dirt, dust, and debris in there? It's the same thing. So if I find anything like that, I'll share it with you. But a lot of times these filters don't do a very good job of protecting our equipment. It's all we've ever been taught to use. But if we see it in there, there could be some challenges, and I'll let you know. Right? I mean, it's you know, you're just answering those questions. And I mean, are those pretty logical? Would those make sense? For, I mean, you can use your own analogies, but do you see where that might lead? You know, where the homeowner might say, "What do you mean by this?" and how you have to have a response for that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, but just again, use your own analogies. If you, I mean, you know, come up with better analogies than what I have, but you just have to be able to answer those questions comfortably and confidently with the homeowners. And sometimes that just takes a little bit of role playing to get put on the spot a couple of times to be able to have that quick response. But here's the really cool thing about what we do is that when you're sharing, has there been anything that I've said so far, and feel free to call me out if you feel this way. Has there been anything that I've said so far that's not true? Have we had to lie or mislead the homeowner in any way whatsoever?
No.
I mean, I don't think so. So, I mean, it's what we do is, you know, the beauty of what we do is all we have to do is tell the truth. We don't have to make up things. We don't have to mislead. We don't have to scare. We don't have to do any of that. There are some challenges. We'll let people know if we find those while we're out there. And that's all we're trying to do. So, but you are kind of setting the stage at this point. So you want to be able to have those kind of early conversations, set the stage with the homeowner, and now you're going to go out there and do the best darn maintenance you can, or service, or whatever it is. At some point you have to go out and do the work, and usually all this stuff happens pretty quickly. And then there's some things that you can see, and to me, these kind of lead into that transition here. So I'm actually going to jump forward to this stuff right here. Some of you may have seen these pictures before, maybe not. But you guys run into things every day. Most of the pictures that I get, that I use in my presentations, are pictures that technicians have sent me, or pictures that I've taken along ride-along. So this is a ride-along that I was on out in Dallas, Texas. In Dallas, Texas, they've got a lot of air handlers up in the attic. That's where a lot of their systems are at. Where are a lot of your systems at?
We got a lot in the attic and a lot in the garage.
Garage, okay. Do you have any in like crawl spaces underneath the home, things like that?
Yes.
All right. So each one of those are going to present their own challenges. When you've got an air handler up in an attic, can you drag the homeowner with you up into the attic in most cases?
No.
Kim's going to recommend to not do that. Down here where I live in Florida, everybody comes down here to retire. So I'm definitely not dragging 80-year-old, Betty and Bob up in the attic to show them what's in there. But at this point, you can take pictures. If you can have the homeowner with you, that's great. If you can bring them down to physically see what you're looking at, that's awesome if you can do that. If not, though, take a lot of pictures. I think pictures, especially on your iPads, we use phones a lot, but on an iPad, you can really give them a great visual. And that's where, again, I like having my iPad with me if I'm out on the call, so I can take pictures of these things. But this was a system that was so dirty that this guy, we were able to peel the dirt and dust off the coil like a blanket. Now, how we set that up was, when we get done today, can we show you a little bit better filter than what you're currently using? Well, about 45 minutes later, we came down out of the attic holding up this sheet of dirt and dust in front of the homeowner and said, remember when I asked you if I could show you a little better filter than what you're currently using? This is why. Oh, well, what is that? Right? So she was shocked. She was horrified. She had never looked inside of her heating and cooling system. We don't want them to. We don't want people opening their systems up. But because they never look inside, see it. And that's where we wanted to present this. But we did it in a format where it was a little bit of kind of shock and awe. But didn't we have, at the end of the day, didn't we have proof at this point that this is after the filter. So this is after the filter. If you get this much dirt and dust after the filter, that filter, it ain't working. It's not doing the job. So, but it's proof. With a lot of homeowners, we have to give them evidence that there's a problem. And then that's where you can use some of those third-party quotes. So, one of the quotes that's out there today is the EPA has a quote that says all it takes is 1/20th of an inch of dirt or dust across the coil, and that can reduce the efficiency of the system by 21%. Well, that's a whole lot thicker than 1/20th of an inch. So, a lot of homeowners were not very good at fractions, or at least I know I'm not. I went to Florida public school, and I didn't know fractions in elementary school, and I still don't know them well now. So I always need examples for things. So for me, it's easy to do this while I sit at my desk. For you, you might need to do something differently. But 1/20th of an inch is about the thickness of a business card. So if you actually take a business card and went like this with it, that's 1/20th of an inch. Is that a big, thick, disgusting, dirty layer of dirt and dust, or is that pretty paper thin? Now put that into context for the homeowner, meaning that one, now they can visualize this. All it takes is a paper thin layer, and that can affect the performance of your system by 21%. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, what that really means is, what's a popular piece of equipment that you guys use?
Like a brand?
Yeah, give me what brand do you guys use?
Lennox.
All right,
Lennox.
so Lennox. All right, so Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, what that means is if we take the exact same piece of Lennox equipment that you have here, it's brand new, right? Or somebody has this one and it's nice and clean, and then you have your piece of Lennox equipment, the exact same model number, yet you have this much dust on your coil, it's going to take you 21% longer to heat or cool your home. Right? So if it takes 21% longer than this person's system, what do you think that would mean to your utility cost? Right? Give them something to think about on there. So, again, the pictures, the images I have, that's pretty disgusting right there. But it's not always going to be that thick, but that's where you can use, and that's just one quote. Lots of quotes that are out there, mechanical quotes like that, that you can use. So if you don't like the EPA quote, find another one. But there are quotes where we can talk about the coil and say, not only is that affecting the performance or the efficiency of your system, so now you're overpaying the utility company, but if you're restricting the airflow across the coil, like in this picture here, guys, from a mechanical standpoint, what does that mean to the system when there's going to be higher static pressure in there, choked off airflow? What are some of the mechanical issues we can run into?
You're gonna get liquid back.
Compressor.
I don't know what slugging means in the compressor, but it doesn't sound good. It sounds expensive. Is it?
Yeah.
So that's bad. Is there, if there's something wrong with the system where it could be an expensive repair, doesn't that offset the cost of what it would be to take care of it or maybe protect it so that doesn't happen in the future? Could you build value around that? Now, we're not going to offer a solution just yet, but do you see what I'm getting at here? What are some of the other mechanical challenges that you could get by having high static or choked off airflow in the system?
If it's an ECM motor, it'll burn it out.
Quickly.
Most of the time it kills the motor.
Right? So that could be a problem. If your blower wheel goes out, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner, it's not going to circulate airflow throughout your home, and now your home's going to get really hot and humid. It's going to be really uncomfortable for you until we can come out and get that taken care of. So that's a challenge. There's lots of challenges. But if you use that, if you explain those things to the homeowner, you can start again, stack value, problem, 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 problem. That's going to equate to ouch, it's really expensive. All right. And homeowners, if they can avoid that, I think they probably would. What about the fact that, do you think most homeowners would understand pretty easily? I think, personally, I think a lot of homeowners they don't know a lot about their heating and cooling system, but I think a lot of homeowners would be very aware. If you said, at the end of the day, all things being equal, if I had a clean system with proper airflow versus a system that had poor airflow and dirt and debris in the mechanics, which one do you think is going to last longer, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner? They're all going to respond. Everybody's going to say, well, of course, the clean system is going to last longer. Well, now that I'm showing you images of your system, does that look like a clean system to you? Right? Again, it's all about, presenting some of the challenges. I love presenting things like this if you can. Now, look, I know full well in the South, this is not as easy as if we lived in the North. If somebody has a gas furnace, we're talking a harness and a couple of wires if you can pop the blower wheel out. Not always as easy for us, right, guys?
Right.
It can be a little bit more difficult. But imagine the process. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways of doing this, but this is getting the homeowner involved. Imagine now, actually, this is kind of funny right here. Anybody ever hear of the iWave or the GPS?
The iWave is, I've heard of one. I think there's some people around our area that have one. I know someone, Dallas Forest Green got presented an iWave the other day because he called me for asking about it. So someone in town is selling iWave. Yeah, a lot of supply houses carry them. So the image that you're looking at is a system that's 6 months old. It's only 6 months old, that blower wheel. And it had an iWave in front of it, which is where they tell you to install it, is by the blower wheel. And they tell you that the iWave is going to get rid of all the dust in your home. What do you see on that blower wheel, on the casing and on the blower wheel? That was within 6 months. And that was their IAQ product that they were using in there. Now, what I like to do is I like to present that to homeowners, though, is I want to show them their blower wheel. So again, I understand you're not going to pull every blower wheel out, but just kind of follow the process here. Imagine if we were able to present it this way to the homeowner. Pull the blower wheel out and drag that sucker around to where the homeowner's at. Go out to the front porch and say, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner, I need 30 seconds of your time. There's something that I'd like to share with you. So now the homeowner comes out to give me 30 seconds of time, and I point down at that and say, I don't know if you know what this is, but this is what we call a blower wheel. Now, you can think of that as being a fan. This is what helps to rotate the airflow throughout your heating and cooling system and circulate the airflow throughout your home. Is that a pretty simple explanation of what a blower wheel is?
and say, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, when these blower wheels, when they start to get dirty, what happens is you change the design because they've got this nice little scoop in the fin here. And as they start to get dirty, that gets filled in. And when that gets filled in, they can't move as much airflow. And this is the whole point of what this component does, is to move airflow. And if you can't move as much airflow, if you choke that airflow off, that can lead to efficiency issues, mechanical issues, and shorten the life of your heating and cooling system. Let me show you what a blower wheel is supposed to look like. Because remember, they've never seen it. So you have to give them some sort of a context. So now I've got an iPad out, their dirty blower wheel is sitting at my feet, and now I show them my iPad where I've got a picture of a brand new blower wheel. I'm gonna say, this is a clean blower wheel. This is what it looks like when it comes from the manufacturer. This is when it's gonna work at its peak performance, its peak efficiency right here. So it's a happy and a healthy blower wheel. Now let me show one of your neighbor's blower wheels from up the road, because I had to come out and replace it for him the other day because it failed. I'm not gonna tell you who it is. Right? But if these things, once they start to get dirt and dust loading up on there, it's kind of like snow. It takes a little while to start, but once it starts sticking and accumulating, what do you think happens? It builds up faster and faster. So these blower wheels, once they start to get dirty, you can throw them out of balance, and it can cause the bearings to seize up on there. It can cause these blower wheels to fail. It can actually start to happen pretty quickly here as they get dirty. So if this one failed, let's call it a 1. It's the worst it's ever going to get. Can't get any worse than failure. So now we've got a 1, and then our clean, happy, healthy blower wheel, we're going to call that a 10 because this one's perfect. So we've got a 1 and a 10. Where would you rate your blower wheel? And now you're pointing down at theirs that they can physically see, and there's dirt and dust on it. Now homeowner has to rate their blower wheel, and they're going to tell you how dirty their blower wheel is. You know what most people rate that blower wheel at, no matter what it looks like?
5.
Because everybody you could have stalactites hanging off of it, and everybody still says it's a 5. So, but you guys see lots of pretty dirty blower wheels out there, I'm sure, with stuff caked in there. And those blower wheels, they're not going to live forever when they look like that. So now we want the homeowner to judge their blower wheel, and if they tell you it looks like a 5 or a 2 or an 8, it really doesn't matter. What are most homeowners? What do you think their follow-up response is to that conversation? What can we do about it? How do we fix that? Do you guys have a charge for blower wheel pull and clean?
Yes.
System would it be a benefit to clean that blower wheel up? I mean, think about it this way. Here's another thing that you can say to the homeowner. Your blower wheel is not all that bad yet. What does yet imply?
It's gonna get there.
It ain't getting any better on its own. So somebody's going to have to take care of this. Somebody's going to have to get this cleaned up. Now, I can get this cleaned up for you. It's as part of our maintenance plan or part of the plan that you have with us. You're entitled to a discount of X amount on repairs and maintenance of your system. So we can get that done today. It's going to cost you $299. Now, when we get done today, would you want me to go ahead and have the office call you later on today so that we can schedule your next cleaning of your blower wheel? We can get that done next year for you. No, I don't want to do that. Remember when I asked you if I could show you a little bit better filter? We have a better filter that can actually better protect your system so you don't have to do this again in the future. Now, when I get done today, I'll be glad if you're interested. I can share some information with you on that. Now, I don't know if you do this or not, and there'll be a time and a place for it, guys. But would you and do you offer any type of a guarantee? If somebody does a system rejuvenation, a cleaning, if they get an IAQ package with that, do you put any type of a guarantee, like a clean system guarantee on there? We're going to guarantee your coil stays clean for the next 5 years, or blower wheel stays clean for the next 5 years. If it doesn't, if it gets dirty, we'll clean it at no charge to you.
Does it actually say that?
Polarized filter, it says 10 years.
Okay.
Or blower, is it coil or blower guarantee?
But do we tell them that we would go back and clean their blower? I mean, that's on the product itself. I mean, I'm asking because I don't. That's the labor actually doing it though. That's their guarantee, not our guarantee is this question, right?
The guarantee is coming from you guys. It's not coming from us. It's coming from.
Guarantee.
I don't know what it is, it's just built into the tax. It says clean blower guarantee.
But that, we need to look at that because that's built into the past was nothing that we created ourselves and we put down as a positive, you know what I mean? We should be talking about that.
I would. I mean, if I'm a homeowner and you're guaranteeing that if you clean it up and then you use a better filter, which we'll get to, if you do that, but then if you put a guarantee on it, as a homeowner, that's certainly going to give me a little bit of peace of mind. Because what they're saying is that they're so confident that this is going to work and do a better job of keeping my system clean, that if it does get dirty again, and as a technician, I'll have fun with it. I'll say, I'll take a picture of your system today. I'll take a picture of it every time I come out here. And I'll show it to you. All right. If it gets dirty again, we will clean it at no charge to you. You know how many times you'll have to do that? Rarely, to zero. In all the years that I offered that to homeowners, did we ever have to really do that? Now, at the end of the day, if I do have to clean a blower wheel, to me, it's not that big of a deal. If there's I'm not talking, I want to do 100 of them all the time, but if I have to clean the occasional blower wheel once every couple of years, I get an odd blower wheel that I have to clean, because maybe there was some leakage in the ductwork or something along the lines of that. But if it helped me get more homeowners involved with indoor air quality packages along the way, I am okay with that. I don't have a problem with that. So that's something to think about that you can offer in there. Now, again, there's kind of a time and a place. We might be putting the cart before the horse a little bit here, but it's going through. Now, this would be, again, if we're pulling the blower wheel and doing that, but you don't always have to pull. Sometimes you can just look at it. I mean, that one looks filthy dirty, right? No. That one looks pretty good, right? What about now?
Yeah.
Right? Is there a difference between that fin that's been wiped off versus the rest of it?
Yeah.
Maybe there is some dirt and dust starting to get on there. Remember, it ain't getting any better. It's only going to get worse. This is just the beginning. It's not that bad yet, right? But all that was a baby wipe, and I went across one fin, stuck my hand in there. So I took a before and I took an after picture. So without pulling the blower wheel, I went down and I showed it to the homeowner. This is something that we discovered. And on an iPad, when you're right in front of them with it, it stands out like a sore thumb. Now, that's one that's not all that bad. And the funny thing is I've seen homeowners go both ways with this. I've shown homeowners blower wheels that really, again, not all that bad. And the homeowner was like, oh. They recoiled from it. They thought it was disgusting. Now, imagine if I showed them this blower wheel. But conversely, and this is a true story. I don't know if I shared this with you before. This was a call that I was riding with there's a company over in Tennessee that I do quite a bit of work with. I ride with a lot of their guys when I get to travel up there. And we took a picture of this blower wheel and we showed it to the homeowner and she could care less. She went, boys, I don't know what y'all are trying to sell me, but I'm going to ride that sucker into the ground. True statement. Those are her exact words. I'll never forget them because we cleaned that one up too. We showed her what it could look like. I mean, look at that. It looks like it's all scale and built up, but that was just with a simple baby wipe. We went, cleaned it up on one fin. So, I mean, if we can clean one fin like that, I'm pretty sure we can get the rest of that blower wheel clean. Would that be a benefit to that blower wheel in that system if we could get it cleaned up?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would probably smell better because that one smelled kind of funky. Well, I don't know what that stuff was on there, but what's that musty odor I get when my system kicks on? Well, it's that stuff right there. She did. That was her exact words. Boys, I'm going to ride that sucker into the ground. Okay. I don't like to be pushy. I just went, you're going to ride it into the ground a lot sooner looking like this than if you get it cleaned up. Just let that one kind of sink in for you. I hope you're prepared to get a new system at some point in time, in the near future. So some homeowners are going to care. Some of them are not going to care. But I think showing them what's in there could be the ductwork. That is the best transition that you can do with indoor air quality to get a homeowner involved. That is all the visuals they need. You don't need special meters and tools and all this other stuff. Simply show them what's inside the system to start the conversation. And now maybe that's where you say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and finish up my maintenance today. If you want me to get some things cleaned up in here, I'll be glad to do that. I'll present you some options on that. But in the meantime, while I'm finishing up here, would you mind taking a look at this? There are a few other things that might be happening in your home that you might not be aware of, just like the dirt and the dust in here. According to the Centers for Disease Control, they say not only do we have dirt and dust, and I point at the dirt and dust pie down here, but they also say we have airborne viruses and bacteria. Sometimes we get some surface growth inside of our systems. We also have things that smell inside of our home. Someone forgets to take the trash out. Maybe it's a wet dog. We get different odors inside of our homes, and there's chemical gases, things like that. Would you mind taking a look at this? Hit play. It's a perfect opportunity, whether you're on a maintenance or whether you're on a service, to present something like that to the homeowner. Just to be able to kind of get, again, that seat at the table. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you have when I'm done today. So kind of any thoughts so far, any feedback on that? I mean, does that seem, just some logical steps that we're taking along the way?
I think those are all good things. Those are all easy to do. Makes sense.
You think it would be a good way of just kind of getting the homeowner's attention to where it maybe gives you a chance to have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation with them?
Definitely.
Because I mean, that's what we're really looking for at the end of the day, isn't it? Is that seat at the table where we can have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation where we can inform and educate. These are all, everything that we've talked about so far, not one of those things is meant to be a silver bullet to say, I guarantee you're going to sell more IAQ if you do any one of those things. But what I can guarantee you is if you take some of those steps, if you have the tools that you need with you, if you ask transition statements along the way, if you show them dirt and dust inside the system, what I can guarantee you is that we'll get you a seat at the table. And if you get a seat at the table, it will at least open up more opportunities for you to present. Does that all make sense?
Can I ask you guys, like, if you go to these levels, we'd like at least to have the pictures of the blower wheel. Can we just make it where you're always doing it so we see it's in there for the next visit, or the CSR sees it and they can do some follow-up calls? I don't know where we stand on that right now.
I think it's a lot of it's common sense. This is how you want to call. Is it not?
Yeah. Who said common sense?
I said common sense. Cecil.
Yeah, that is the best word or words that are out there. Use logic and common sense. And it's unbelievable what that can actually mean if we just kind of spell some things out for the homeowners, but doing it using logic and common sense, but taking pictures of it, having that stuff. Is it Service Titan that you use? Is that the program that you use?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, load those pictures up in there. Pictures are amazing. And I mean, those are pictures that can be used that day while you're there. They can also be used for future reference. They can be used for all sorts of different purposes. I love getting pictures of the equipment.
Okay.
Thinks it makes a lot of sense to do that. Now, we're going to kind of jump forward just a little bit here, but where all of this is ultimately leading is, again, if you get a seat at the table, that's where things like this come into play. The presentation guides. If you have an opportunity to really be able to share a little bit more information with a homeowner, is you can use something like this to, again, really show the pie chart. I love highlighting the pie chart with homeowners because the bad news is not coming from me. It's coming from the Centers for Disease Control. So this is all the stuff I showed you in your system, all that dirt and dust that was on your coil, that was on your blower wheel. That's all of this right here. But if you look at this pie chart as 100% of a problem, this piece of the pie right here doesn't represent 100%, does it? That's only a third of the problem. We also have this, and now you're going to explain what these are. Today, aren't a lot of homeowners doing things to better protect themselves from viruses and bacteria? I mean, what are we being taught to do and having our kids do constantly?
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Warm water, 20 seconds, lots of soap, all that stuff. What else are we being told to do? That's a good practice. Wipe countertops down. If you can get, thank God we can get Clorox wipes again. Wipe those countertops down. There are things that we're being taught to do every single day to better protect ourselves from germs, viruses, and bacteria. Yet most of those are surface contaminants, aren't they? What are a lot of homeowners, what are they actively doing to better protect the air that they're breathing in their homes? Not much. And that's a conversation that you can have using that pie chart. Today we're inundated with information, on the news about things that we can do to better protect ourselves, but it's protecting ourselves from this stuff right here. A lot of homeowners aren't aware of the fact that there are some things that we can do to better protect ourselves. So This is where it gives you a chance to talk about some of the stuff that we have in the airspace inside of our homes, talk about the germs, and you can also talk about the gases and the odors. You know, according to the Centers for Disease Control, not only do we have viruses and bacteria, but we've also got airborne VOCs, what people call volatile organic compounds, if you're familiar with that. And then we also have things like just odors that we get. And what are some examples of odors? You guys go into homes every single day. I know I've been into some funky homes on ride-alongs. What are some of the things you smell when you go inside homes?
Dogs,
Cats. Yep. Yeah. Who's been in the crazy cat person house before?
We have a cat lady.
Have you ever been in a house that's so disgusting you put your floor savers on to keep your shoes clean? I've been in a couple of houses like that. So now, a lot of times in my experience, the person who has 35 cats, do they care about how their home smells?
No.
Nope. But what about the person who has a really nice home, but they've got a dog in there, but now you start to notice they've got candles everywhere? Do they care about how their home smells?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a nice, beautiful house. It's brand new. It's a gorgeous house. But yet there's candles all over the place, and they've got their dog in there. They've got their one pet. They're responsible with that pet. Fluffy's clean, but they really don't want the smell of Fluffy when you walk through the door. It's a concern of theirs if you see a bunch of candles all over, incense inside the home. I'm looking for things like that. I might try and make them laugh a little bit. Did your husband forget to take the garbage out? Sometimes we get odors like that. Somebody burns the toast in the morning, right? Do you have kids or teenagers? What's that smell from teenagers? I don't know what it is, but it's funky smelling, right? You know, make a joke about it. You know, kids are constantly leaving food in their rooms or, you know, dirty clothes, things like that. So, you know, make a joke about it. But, you know, all of us have things like that, according to the Centers for Disease Control. And so what we can do is there are things that we can do to minimize this, where we can help to minimize the dirt and the dust that's in the home, which will be better for your heating and cooling system. It's better for you when it comes to things like asthma and allergies. There you go. You got the dog.
Oh, yeah, we got one here.
I think mine's sleeping on my bed right now. So, you know, you can talk about, you know, there are things that we can do to minimize the dirt and the dust. There are things that we can do to help with the airborne viruses and bacteria where we can limit those inside the home. If we reduce the amount of germs that you're exposed to, that limits your risk of getting sick. It starts to reduce that. And we can also make a home smell a little fresher, smell a little cleaner, kind of like a spring thunderstorm. So out of all these three phases of contamination, which we all have, you know, Kim, which ones of these would you want me to get rid of? And which ones of these do you want to keep in your home?
No, I love that transition statement. I want to get rid of them all.
I want to get rid of them all. Well, let me show you the package that everybody wants. Boom. So now you're not just talking an air cleaner. You're not just talking a UV system. You're talking about a complete package. You know, this is what we call the IAQ 4000. This is the best package that we have to offer. This is the one that everybody wants. This package is going to get rid of 99% of the airborne impurities inside your home. In fact, this is what we call hospital quality air cleaning because it has a bypass HEPA system. It has a polarized media air cleaner. It's got a UV sealant and an oxidizer. And you have to be able to explain quickly what all of those things are to the homeowner, the benefit of all of those things. Now, what's the next question homeowner's going to ask me?
What's it cost?
How much is it? What's it going to cost me? Kim, do you know what the cost is offhand of what an IAQ 4000 is to a homeowner?
What do we have in the system?
$4,000.
$4,000.
$4,000. Boy, if you present something to me that's $4,000, I'm going to laugh at you. Whoa, $4,000. I don't know if I was prepared for all that today. I mean, how many homeowners are going to go $4,000? Okay, cool. Put it in. Right? Most homeowners probably aren't going to do that. Now, every now and then you will. And once in a blue moon, you will get that home. I mean, you have systems, I'm sure, from Lennox that are 25 SEER and just amazing systems, right? You know, dual stage compressors, variable, you know, all the bells and whistles. Do you put one of those in from time to time?
Yep.
Yep. So every now and then you're going to get a homeowner that's going to want the best, the absolute best, but that's not everybody, right? But remember I said, this is the one that everybody wants. So as you have that open and you're showing the IAQ 4000, you can now say, let me share with you what I have in my home. And keep in mind, this is what I do every day. Let me show you what most people actually get. And now you flip it over, and now you've got an IAQ 3000 package. You know, the difference with the IAQ 3000 to the 4000 is that with the IAQ 3000, you're not going to get quite the same amount of impurities. You're going to go from 99% to 97% of the airborne impurities. But you're still going to get those particles, those germs, and those gases. It's just not quite hospital quality. Now, going from 99 to 97 for a lot of homeowners, probably not that big of a deal. But now that again, they're going to say, well, what does that one cost? Oh, this one's what, $1,700, $1,800, somewhere around that range. That's a little better than $4,000, isn't it? So remember, we went from the one that everybody wants to the one that actually everybody gets, the IAQ 3000. Now, if the homeowner says, well, what else do you have? Or you don't even have to wait for that. You can just say, you know, you can also choose an IAQ 2000, which is going to be on there. And an IAQ 2000, now keep in mind that when I asked you, I said out of all the impurities, which ones would you want to get rid of? You said all of them. An IAQ 2000 is going to do the particles and the viruses, bacteria. It's going to give you 2 of those phases, 2 of those pies from the pie chart. You're not going to get all 3, but that package is around $1,400 or $1,500, whatever you guys have it priced at. Now, the goal of the IAQ 2000 is you want that priced so that it's not that significant of a drop from the 3000. Because if you present the 2000, if you only have a small difference in pricing, isn't it pretty easy to now work your way back up the board to a 3000? You know, keep in mind, for only a couple $100 more, you can actually get all 3 phases of contamination.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, or you might have a homeowner says, well, you know, can you do this in a onesie, twosie? Can I do it a la carte? Of course you can. You know, we can, the beauty of this is we can start with one and then we can, you know, the next time or when you're interested, we can do something else. We can add to this as we go. And you have the option of that. You can start with an air cleaner. You can put in an RM116 and then you can add the oxidizer to that and make it an RM216.5 at a later date. You know, that you can always do those things in onesies, twosies. But at the end of the day, you're just going to present options. And then now you can give the homeowner those options and let them decide what best fits their budget and their needs. And if they do something, that's awesome. That's great. And if they don't, my typical response is, that's fine. We don't have to do anything today. In fact, that's always an option that I like to offer homeowners is that, you know, the last option you have on here, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, is that we don't have to do anything. You know, these are all just recommendations based off of what we see in the home and what other organizations say that we all have in our homes. So if you want to do something about that, there's a lot of great solutions out there for you today. And we have a lot of homeowners who are using those with a lot of success. They love the benefits. But if you don't want to do anything, we don't have to do that either. We don't have to do anything. Because at the end of the day, I just want to be able to say, you know what, I'm glad to see you in 6 months and come back out on that maintenance plan. That is the lifeblood of our business. But it's just presenting options so that they can decide what they want. And usually if they have multiple options, they're willing to get at least one of those, so, you know, versus just a yes or a no.
So John, I'm hoping, you know, we're a year and a half into, or right, is it 2 years now, Cecil? Really, when we first started working with you guys in the product. So moving to the conversation you just had on selling it and knowing the product, I mean, I hope we all know that by now. What I really loved about this conversation today was those transition statements, just to even have those conversations. And that's my goal for them over this next couple of weeks. It's put a couple more of those that you've heard from John today, along with Michelle, and put them into play and tell me if you get further in your conversation with your customer. That's the goal. And obviously the end goal is to actually sell it. We have to have results with it. We can talk all day long about we have to have results, and that's my main goal like this. And then kind of come back to that next week and go, okay, did you use these and how were they successful, or, you know, why were you not? That type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great goal. And you know, at the end of the day, it's having those transitions and getting that conversation started That's just that seat at that table. That's what those little steps, those transitions are for. The more seats at the table you get, that will open up more opportunities to success down the road. But I think that's a great goal, is to at least start using some of those and seeing if it just leads to conversations that are a little bit more involved with the homeowner, where they're looking for more information. I think that's a great step.
Well, I just looked at their schedule, so we kind of need, and then we got a little bit late started. I need to let them get going for their stuff, but I have a couple things is I don't have those handbooks, and how can we get the video books? So I don't know if we can take it offline and try to figure out how we can do that. More tools for that.
We can, yeah. I'll send you an email on the handbooks. We'll be glad to just get some of those for you. The video
Okay.
books, they are $55 a piece. Our cost is $50 on them, so we're really not trying to make any money, but there is a cost to getting them produced and made.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
but yeah, I can send you an email with the part numbers in there and cost on that. We can get those ordered up for you.
Does anybody have any questions or comments or concerns of anything or challenging anything you've heard from them?
Does everybody have my number? So if you're in the field, if a homeowner asks you a question, you're not sure how to answer it, or if you're kind of eyeballing a system to determine how you would use the products on there, where they'd go, things like that, that you can call me.
No?
Yeah, if you don't, please put it in your phone, text it out to everybody. But it's 941-320-3265. So it's John, Jon, and you can put John Dynamic. That's a lot cooler than my real last name. So, but yeah, plug that in your phone. That's what Kyle is for. You know, Kyle is kind of on the job learning a little bit. You know, he's been in the plumbing industry for years, but he's learning more HVAC. But Kyle is very committed to the companies that he's working with and making sure they have everything they need and being there for everybody out in the field. I'm here for you. Michelle's here for you. So anything that we can do to support you, if homeowners are asking you goofy questions or if it's technical stuff, please feel free to reach out. That's what we're here for.